So I have an invoice here that I've been wanting to give you. It's from, you remember that 100-city tour we did together. And this is just a bill for all of my time that you wasted waiting on you to do your hair.
Now,
that was a lot of hair do's or hair don'ts. However, that's
you
what
men
we were
have no
calling it.
idea what we go through.
Thank God we're rolling. Good evening, I'm Clint Black, and tonight I am talking in circles with the one and only Wynonna. Thank you so much for being here. I got to tell you, I've been just getting ready for tonight, going back through and listening, and it stands up. You know, it stands up. You know,
I worked hard.
Yeah, some of that, old stuff we love. You hear it in some of the production values.
I know what you mean.
Are a little
Dated,
dated, and
yep.
but the production and all of that and your voice,
Wow, thank you
it's
for
just
that.
a great reminder. It's something that you already know, and it's just like a foregone conclusion. You accept what a great voice you have.
Well,
but
I'm
to
so
go back
insecure
and hear
and
it,
so self-conscious that when you say that, I know I have a gift. God gave it to me, so I don't argue with him about that. The rest of it, I just am so hard on myself. I was raised by a very strict parent, and she was always saying to me, you can do it better. And back then, you guys, I mean, this is my office. This is my home, 1984. RCA was our first, label. They sent me to media school. I was so green and so, I had no idea. I was 17 years old, right? And so all of this to say, I was so enamored by music. All I cared about was the music. The rest of it, my mom loved. She loved parties and parades and all of that. She was Miss America. And I was just this kid with a guitar, girl with a guitar.
So when you went solo, I mean, you were already at the top of the world. So you knew how the machine worked. You knew all of that stuff. You had all the credibility that any new artist.
Well, I had the
could
greatest
possibly
campaign of all
have.
time. My Mother Saying Goodbye was the greatest setup for me, life after death. I mean, the death of the Judds in terms of her having to stop. We had our press conference here in that lobby out there. And she said, I have to quit. That year-long goodbye, a bad goodbye, boy, was it. It was a horrible, horrible time, but it set me up for my birth. Does that make sense? It was really a weird transition, but everybody was waiting to see if I, would make it. It was like the greatest campaign in the world to see if the Judds was a set up or a setback. Was she going to be able to make it on her own? I had people coming up to me literally on the street saying, do you think you can make it on your own? And I would just look at them like, oh my God.
I never worried about it.
I know.
Well, you got to have that confidence, or you're not going to walk out on stage.
I did not.
Were you met with too much scrutiny, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's surprising to me
Mm-hmm.
because I read that and I thought, why wouldn't the whole country music world just be saying, okay, let's have it. Let's have it. This is great.
I don't know.
I mean,
That's
but were people resentful that you wanted to strike out on your own?
No, I think they were. Okay, here's the bottom line, y'all. And I wrote a book about it because it's called Coming Home to Myself, because I finally did. But back then I was so lost in the year-long goodbye because they kept adding shows and kept adding shows. And my manager was at the time so influential. You're supposed to leave home at 18, go to college, and there's a natural progression. There's a natural transition. This is not a natural transition. It literally was say goodbye on December 4th, 1990, I think it was, and then I'm saying hello not even a year later. How do you make that transition? So I think people were judging the process, if not just me. I think they were just judging the process because the Judds made history. Come on, we were at the top of our game. And how is she going to come out on her own and make it? So I think there was a natural, what does that look like? So it was a strange time. And the fans believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. I mean, I got letter after letter in my file I saved literally a $20 check from some fan saying, I'm buying your first record. I believe in you. You're going to be okay.
What was the first solo song? Was it She's
She's
Only
Only
Need?
Need. So my
Yeah.
manager literally says to me, you're going out on your own. And I said, no, I'm not. Because I was saying goodbye to my mother. It'd be like having a funeral on Friday and then a family reunion, you know, the day after. Like when Mom died last year, the very next day I went to the Country Music Hall of Fame and got inducted. That's just weird. For most people, it doesn't make any sense. To me, it made all the sense in the world. So I think people were just shocked and amazed by, what is she doing? So my manager took that on himself and said, here's what you're going to do. And I was just like so numb. I was so numb, and I was young. I was so young and impressionable. And he said, you're going to go out on the AMAs, which is going out on the Grammys or another award show, and you're going to sing by yourself. That makes no sense. Why are you going to do that to yourself? And I did it. And my mother is sitting in the audience looking up at me, and I'm looking at her and Natalie Cole. I will never forget it. And they're both crying and looking at me like, you're doing it. And I just felt like I was in a really weird movie. I was detached from all of it because I was so lost without my mom. I don't think people understand. We shared a bus together for 10 years. I did her hair every single night. We were bonded and enmeshed in such a way that I didn't know how to do it without her.
How long did it take you to do her hair?
A long time, because she's strict. And I jacked that stuff to Jesus every chance I got. Sometimes a little harder than I probably should have. Listen, she was my boss. Let's just get it straight here. I was the lead singer, and the only way I could get her to get that would be to be late. I had a thing about being late, just to show her, that I had some power, because otherwise she's Miss America, for God's sake, right? And everything she said, it was yes, ma'am, or else. We had a lot of fights. It's not natural to be on a bus with your mother at 17. And I love her, and she almost drove me insane because it was really tough living with someone who was that much of a perfectionist. And all the terms, OCD and, all that stuff. She just really wanted it to work so well because we were so poor. We went from welfare to millionaire. But getting there was her whole world, her whole life. She was 36. What were you doing at 36, right? You're still ambitious, you're young, and you're wanting it to work. And I was 17 years old. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I had just graduated high school.
Yeah, if I had made it at that age, it would have been a disaster.
Thank God I had
was a
her, though.
big
She
idiot.
kept me straight.
I was a pretty big idiot when I did make it, but I was a bigger idiot
I
when
think
I
that's
was
why God
17.
said, I'm going to show you just how hard it can be. And you're going to love her. And I did so. And I supported her, and I was her right arm. I mean, she couldn't do it without me. And I knew that, and she knew that, and I resented her, but I loved her so much. I took care of her like she was my absolute world. And I'm glad I did. God taught me a lot about being a servant heart, giving up my own for the whole of the band and the crew and everybody.
Going back through, and I got to tell you, it made me emotional with all that's happened since I saw you last. Going back through and listening to those songs and your voice and your delivery and the production. I mean, it was fantastic.
Tony Brown, my God.
Yeah, he just makes the best records. But you're doing a tour you're just doing those first two solo albums?
Here's the deal, y'all. We have to celebrate the past because it's where we come from, but not be defined by it. So I'm trying to go back and stop the car, read the map, and see where I'm going, because I'm making a record right now, but I'm also living in the past. I'm in the present and singing in the future. It's weird. And I think it's time to celebrate, because those fans were there, you guys. They were there when I was dying inside because Mom was leaving the road. I was riding the bus by myself. I literally unpacked her room. She stood on the, doorstep and waved goodbye, and I pulled out in the tour bus and went on my own. It was so heavy.
You had to have been conflicted
so
too,
heavy. It
because
was
now
really
you've
heavy.
gotten your mom off the bus and you've got your own bus. But
It's bittersweet.
Bittersweet, yeah.
It's bittersweet. So this tour is me going through the first two albums, and I know I'm going to look out in the audience and I'm going to see some mother who now has 2 kids, maybe even a grandchild, who was there in 1992-ish. And that's when it came out. She's Only Need was the first single. She'll be sitting in the audience and I'll be singing it now. So I'm going through the record, each song as it was on the record. And I'm doing 2 albums in one night, which will be a celebration of just how far I've come, that I got through it. I'm better, not bitter, for all the crap that's happened to me. That's the key, I think. You have to get to a place in your life where you realize you're not a victim. And all this crap has happened to me with Mom committing suicide last year. I had a choice to make. I could either let that define me or give me permission to show everybody and myself that I could do it, even in spite of the hell-ish time period that I went through, that I could still sing. And so I went on tour because those fans bought the tickets and they were there for me. And I thought, I'm not going to stay home and complain. I'm going to go to work.
Well, it seems to me home would be a deep, dark hole
Yes.
that you would be
It
living
could be.
in.
It
So
could be if
you
you're...
get out of that hole, dig yourself out.
Because we live on the farm together. Ashley lives here in a house I gave her. I live in the middle. Ha, ha, ha. And Mom's over here. So I was literally, just a short side-by-side drive. And when she left, I was so devastated. I thought, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. I'm so lost. Because you don't really, we take so much for granted, don't we? Until it's gone. And when it's gone, it's like, oh my God. Just like with Christmas. Her whole thing was Christmas and Halloween, and she did all the parties, and she was the party girl. And I'm shy and quiet, and I have the 40 animals, and I'm very solid. She's the outgoing one. She's extrovert. I'm an omnivert, which is both. I can do this, or I'm just in my farm clothes. But now that she's gone, I didn't know what to do, Clint. You told me that your father committed suicide, so we have that in common. And what do you do with that kind of crap that happens to you? You feel so helpless, and there's a mystery there as to why. So I had to go through that like you did, right? Why? Well, you kind of had more of a why, I think, than I do. Because everybody thought she was okay. Everybody thought everything's okay, and it's not okay.
You don't know what's going on.
You don't know what's going on. I was on
I didn't
tour
know
and
how
distracted.
bad it was.
You don't know how bad it was, thank you. And I really didn't, because she's such a talker and a teacher to everybody else. She was a light to everybody else, but inside she was crumbling. And it's just a weird time. And this past year, I've learned so much about myself. And now that I'm with my grandbaby 24/7, I'm learning that there is life after death. And if I can go out on this tour, and this is heavy, and I can go out on stage and I can help someone decide to stay instead of leaving, then I've done my job. And I just know that what we're going through after our parents' death is I'm now an orphan. I have to decide whether the cup is half full or half empty.
There's no other way to be. That's what's in the cup, right? You got to know that the cup is full.
You would say something like that. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Coca-Cola, because I'm not supposed to drink
cup.
Coca-Cola.
Well, it's really exciting. There's so many great songs on those first 2 albums, and that's a lot of hard singing, so you're going to really have to get your game up.
This tour is important to me. I celebrated the Judds. I think it's important to celebrate family when you can, just like a family reunion. And then it's time for me to go out on my own again, which I think life is coming back full circle. It is time for me to go back out there after having done the Judd tribute tour. That was a killer. I literally almost fainted on stage some nights. I was so in grief. And people were like, what's wrong with her? Why is she shaking? Because I'm trying to sing through the snot.
Well, yeah.
And I'm trying to stand up straight. And it's hard because I'm singing Love Can Build a Bridge and I want to fall into the floor and weep, but I'm trying to keep it together and I'm wobbling and trying to, do it all. And then that's done. I did it. And now it's time to stop and go, God, thank you for getting me through all this tragedy that's happened. We all go through it. What do we do with it? Do we internalize it and stay at home and complain, or do we quit complaining and go to work? It's almost like you got to decide. So this tour, I think, is important. And thank you, fans, for buying the tickets, because if it wasn't for you, I'd be at home wondering what everybody else is doing, right?
What do you remember about American Graffiti?
I remember that I got paid like $25 a day to be an extra. I'm in the dancing, and I think I'm so amazing. I'm going to be this very successful actress. That didn't work out so well. But it's okay. It's not like I have to go back to my real job and I hate it. But I was wanting to get into being in the movies and stuff. My mom said, okay. And then, of course, Ashley went out to LA and she became the actress and I became the singer. And the rest is herstory, right?
So we have to find that clip of you dancing in that movie.
Yeah, I got paid. I just thought that was the most amazing thing. Being as poor as we were, and I'm talking welfare poor. I'm not just talking about, we can't pay the rent. We can't pay the rent, and I don't know if we're going to eat kind of thing. Like we had a garden, and if we didn't have stuff in the garden, we didn't have what we needed. But you know what? We made it. My mom was on welfare for a while.
How did you get that? Something about you driving an old car and George Lucas.
My mother got it because she's very ambitious, and she decided they wanted our car in the movie. I still have that car. And I learned to drive on a 57 Chevy at 13. I did all the chores, the driving, the cooking. Mother was a nurse. She did back-to-back sessions at the hospital. And I raised Ashley. That's why we have such a funny relationship, because she calls me sister mommy. And I'm a little bit sad about that because I didn't get to be her sister. Because it was just the two of us trying to survive, right? And we drove this old funky car, and my mom decided to get money out of using the car for a movie. What better way to get money at that time? She was young, and have you seen pictures of her back then? Men followed her home from the grocery store. I mean, she is beautiful, and she just wanted to be famous. My mother always wanted to be famous. Everybody says she should have been a superstar in the like All My Children. She's so freaking dramatic. She would have been so good.
Well, as sister,
but then she heard me sing and she went, aha. So this is what we're going to do.
As sister mommy, can you still ground Ashley?
I try. I'm bigger and meaner than her because I had to be. I had to be mean because I had to keep it together. When you're 14 years old and your mom is working all the time and you learn to drive, I was responsible for a lot. And she put me in charge. And that's just the way it was. You grow up with a single parent. What are you going to do? So we made it, though, didn't we? We made it, and it's a miracle that we're all still able to do what it is we love. Ashley's doing well. I don't see her very much, and we're not as close as I'd like to be, but that's because success took us away from each other. It's a funny thing. There's a bit of a sadness because being famous takes you from home.
Well, you've turned out to be stronger than maybe you thought
Yes.
you might be back, and
Correct.
I'm glad you are. I'm glad you're still.
I have the right, and that's another thing, support. I don't try to do it by myself. I reach out for help. I did it just yesterday. I called my grief counselor, and I said, I'm having a really tough day. I'm angry, and I don't know why she did this to me, and I had a really bad day. And yet, I know I'm not terminally unique. I know that you all go through stuff where you think, how am I going to make it through this? And you do, because you're stronger than you think. And I believe in a higher power. And I know I'm not it. So I think I got the memo. It's not about you.
Well, I have to tell you, the first experience when I first started getting on the big shows, and your mom's was one of them. You were always so sweet. Your mom was always so sweet to me, and both of you, just the consummate professionals, but always sweet and nice, and every experience has been that way. You've
My
been
mama said,
wonderful.
be kind. That's one thing I've always strived to be, whether it was when you're really successful, you forget to see people because you're so hell-bent on the destination, you forget to say hi to the driver and how's your day going? And let me see the picture of your grandbaby, and that kind of thing. My mama always said, be kind. She was one of the kindest women I ever knew. And she died, and I sang at her funeral because she was my light, is my light. And thank you for saying that, because my mom always said, be kind to everyone. And I tried really hard. I mean, I have my bad days, but I never will take it out on somebody else because you never know what they're going through. You never know what people are dealing with.
Well, I had the best time with you guys.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I have one question I ask all my guests.
Okay.
With the exception of your mom, because I can make some presumptions there. When you get to heaven, if you could sing a song with anyone who's already there, who would it be?
Elvis.
I knew it. And what song would you sing?
How Great Thou Art. Because I sing How Great Thou Art with my singers, and we're the best. And we sing it so Oh Lord, my God. I mean, that's just the way it starts. Can you imagine the way it ends?
You can do the lip thing, right? Yeah,
I
there
always
you go.
have. Everybody calls me Shelvis.
Yeah.
I would sing with Elvis because he's the most unique. I have a song with him because of technology, and it's been the highlight of my career. One of them was singing with Elvis. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, I knew it would be him.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hope it's a long time from now. As we're glad to have you here.
I'm glad to still be here, and I've chosen life, and that's what my goal is, to teach others the same.
Wynonna. Thank you.